Welcome back to the video. Today we're going to be talking about, did Genesis RAS live up to the hype? Man was hyped since the Origin update, right? Origin update, they have been hyping up Genesis RAS. We knew about him for 5 months at this point? So a lot of people have been waiting for him, myself included. Let's talk about Genesis RAS. What a character, right? What a character. So, before we dive into the character and all that good stuff, right? Let's talk about it, right? So, the biggest thing I've seen from people in terms of complaints is that we had to wait even a little bit longer to get Genesis RAS, right? So, the biggest one I've heard was that, wow, yes, we know confirmation, he is coming, but then we had to wait a little bit longer to do his missions. Now, I am perfectly fine, I'll say this right now, I am perfectly fine with them locking a MO5 star behind missions. I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't have a problem with that. Because it is a free MO5 and he's kind of busted, right? He's not like a free, just typical, useless whatever MO5. He's actually a pretty good character. Like, realistically, a really broken character in today's standards, right? Now, is he double S tier? No, I don't think he's double S tier. Is he S tier? Yes, he is. So I got many questions about this. Who is double S tier? Again, I made a tier list about 2 weeks ago at this point. Talk about every MO5 character. And I only have 5 characters in the double S tier, which is going to be Para, Tenebria, who's the other 3? Balsarunka, Lady of the Scales, and New Moon Luna. Those are the only MO5 stars, in my opinion, that are miles ahead of everybody. Yes, I said Tenebria. Tenebria is probably the weakest one there, if I had to mention one, because she's just a debuffer. She is just a debuffer. But the block is really, really broken. Yes, she does not have ignore ER, but that block alone is kind of insane. You lose the game off of that if you do not have a correct way to get rid of it. And the only way to get rid of it is if you have a unit that cleanses yourself. Otherwise, you are in a world of trouble. You are in a world of trouble. Genesis RAS, he is a S tier unit. I definitely think this character is an S tier. Again, I'm perfectly fine with him putting him behind characters, right? Not characters, but behind missions. Perfectly understandable. Now, the other thing I did see was how hard the missions were. Again, they mentioned on the live stream the missions were going to be a little bit difficult. There is no rush to get this character. You don't have to complete them in 2 weeks' times, like a lot of other people. Again, we had to spend leaves and a lot of leaves to finish it. So it was like 100 rifts alone just for one part of the mission. And that's not even including the other part of his part 2 mission. So still, it was a long journey. Again, that's the most complaints I've heard, is that, oh, you have to wait a little bit longer for him, and how the missions are hard. Well, the thing is, right, they did mention it was going to be hard missions. Again, I'm fine with the way the missions played out, but again, there's no rush to get this character. He's literally going to be here forever until end of service. Which, hey, if you don't know, they announced E7 has 13 years. The 20-year plan. 20-year plan. So we got 13 more years of beautiful Epic 7. So he's going to be here until the game closes. All right? So we got 13 more. That's crazy to think about. We have E7 for 13 more years. Man, let's lock it. But yeah, this character's not going nowhere. All right? But now let's talk about him. In terms of an actual character, bro is insane. Brand new debuff to the game. Collapse. Decreases max health by 25%. This works in PvE content such as Abyss and Hunts. Now, it does not work in Expedition or Constellations. Keep that in mind. But man, it only reduces it 25% in PvE. But for PvP, it reduces it by double. So it is a 50% HP reduction, which is kind of crazy. And it ignores ER with only 10 souls. And it's on a 3-turn cooldown. Technically 2, because when he rips his S3, he grants an extra turn if he does crit. Again, pretty insane. You do S2 into the S3, which S3 penetrates the target's defense literally by 100, and it does more damage when there's fewer enemies. So every time you kill an enemy, you are doing a 70% damage increase. That is kind of crazy. Now, if it's like Guild War, you're already starting off with 3 enemies left. Well, guess what? He has a 70% damage increase. Now, if you take him to Hunt, there's only 1 enemy. Well, guess what? He has a 210 damage increase already. Literally already. He's a broken character. And on top of that, he has a insane passive. Not even a passive. It's a passive to his skill. Right? Which is Scarred Covenant, which cannot be affected by any debuffs or some harmful effects upon dying, revives with 100% HP. It is basically a holy sack for free. But you come back with 100% HP. Broken. Broken. Absolutely disgusting of a character, right? Very, very good. S1. 25% combat readiness when you just attack. Pretty good. But again, in terms of a character alone, very, very good. I have not seen one person be disappointed by Genesis RAS. So therefore, the hype he lived up to the hype for sure. He definitely lived up to the hype. Again, just the biggest complaints I've seen is that it takes too long to get him. But again, it's understandable why people say that. Because again, Smile Game mentioned themselves, it was going to take quite some time to get this character. But overall, in terms of a character itself, I think he's very, very good. I think he definitely lives up to the hype. Now, I will say, I do wish Lady of the Scales came out a little bit later than now. Just maybe like a couple weeks later. Because the biggest problem with Genesis RAS, at least in my opinion, I mainly focus on Guild War and Arena. In terms of Genesis RAS, he makes your Guild War life much, much easier if there is no Lady of the Scales on a defense. Because you can basically just rip the S3. Now again, it works perfectly fine into Lady of the Scales Guild War defense, but not his full potential, right? Now, in terms of Arena, kind of harder to use him there. Don't get me wrong, he does make some offenses very, very easier, but again, it's not really his full potential because Lady of the Scales just existing herself, right? She is loaded, her kit is loaded, 70% mit immortality, like, it's crazy, right? It is crazy. If Lady of the Scales was to release right after Wretched Rose, then this will be a whole different topic in my opinion. I think everyone will be more and more happy about Genesis RAS, but the way it is right now, yeah, you can't really get the full what's it called? Everything about it. You can't get the full edition of him. We're kind of, towing it back because we have to play around with Lady of the Scales, and then after we kill the unit in the front, then you can kind of play around them. But from what I've seen, Discords, comments, and all that, I think it definitely live up to the hype. Main character energy, of course, because Bro is the main character. Who would have thought this would happen, right? Bro is insane. He is absolutely good. I think he definitely lived up to the hype. But let me know down below, do you guys believe Genesis RAS lives up to the hype? Do you think the grind killed the hype? I've seen that as well. I've seen people say the grind has killed the hype for Genesis RAS. But again, he's a free character and he's broken. So, I don't know. I can't really agree that the grind killed the hype, personally. I don't believe that at all for some reason. Bro, let's be realistic, man. It's a free ML5 and he's absolutely insane, right? Now, if he was a dog water ML5, completely different story, right? But he's actually insane. So, let me know down below. What you guys think about this character? Did he live up to the hype? Did he not live up to the hype? Let me know. We'll talk about it. But other than that, though, peace out.